An ordinary day. You walk down the grocery store aisles. The bright lights, familiar brands, and cheerful packaging around you instill a false sense of security offered by the modern world. You pick up a packet of pasta for dinner or a completely sealed box of cereal for breakfast. You return home and open that untouched box, sitting exactly as it left the factory, its security seal completely intact. But something falls out of the box. A tiny, tightly folded piece of paper. On it are bizarre symbols, seemingly meaningless acronyms, and dark messages about secret societies alleged to rule the world. That is the moment you realize someone unknown has already infiltrated your supposedly safe personal space. Welcome to Timeless Archives. Today, we examine a dark enigma silently spreading across the heart of America, the Schuylkill Notes. Pennsylvania's Schuylkill County takes its name from the words of early Dutch settlers, meaning hidden river or concealed stream. A region with a history steeped in coal mining, heavy labor, and the soot of the Industrial Revolution now stands at the center of a highly secretive and baffling series of events, truly living up to its name. First drawing intense public attention in 2019 and especially throughout 2020, this phenomenon rapidly transforms from a local oddity into a nationwide paranoia. People start finding small pieces of paper inside sealed food packages purchased from supermarkets, sometimes inside a block of cheese, sometimes attached to a shampoo bottle, and sometimes buried at the very bottom of children's snack boxes. These papers are not ordinary flyers or brochures. Each one is folded tightly with immense care, almost like the product of a morbid obsession. Sometimes they are reduced to the size of a mere coin. An absolute mind-bending experience awaits those who try to unfold and read these notes, compressed into a tiny square. When opened, the sight resembles the delusions of a mind lost in dark corridors. Usually consisting of 19 lines printed with narrow margins, these texts look at first glance as if they came from an old-school typewriter or a low-resolution printer. But what truly unsettles the soul is the content of the text. The texts fuse everything from pop culture and historical events to massive global corporations and world leaders into one single overarching conspiracy theory. Interwoven through the sentences are the staples of American paranoia: the John F. Kennedy assassination, the New World Order, Nazis, the CIA, the FBI, the World Bank, and the elite's plans to control the globe. But the author does not stop there. They present contemporary figures like Bill Gates, Elon Musk, and Oprah Winfrey, fictional cinematic works like The Matrix and The Lord of the Rings, and even the planet Saturn as inseparable parts of the same dark scenario. Phrases found in the text, such as Saturn Tide, Lord of Time, and Rings, do not offer logical cohesion to the reader. Rather, they function as a series of trigger words assaulting the subconscious. It is as if the author believes they have unlocked all the secrets of the world and are desperately trying to deliver this revelation to humanity through the most bizarre method possible. The language and structure of these notes form a subject of investigation all on their own. The author employs clearly intentional, bizarre spelling errors, misplaced apostrophes, and complex abbreviations known only to them. These grammatical distortions make the text nearly impossible to read and comprehend. Nonsensical punctuation marks are scattered between certain words. Some cryptography experts and amateur sleuths suspect this is a coded communication method, hiding a much more specific secondary message behind the apparent absurdity. Others argue it is merely a primitive yet effective tactic used by the author to confuse the reader, manufacture mystery, or protect their own identity from analytical tools. On one hand, a highly complex, world-spanning conspiracy web is described. On the other, the deliberate deformation of words gives the impression that the mind behind the notes is both deeply methodical and intensely chaotic. As time progresses, the scope of the incident does not remain confined to supermarket aisles. The Schuylkill Notes breach the borders of the county they are named after, and even the state itself. Small Ziploc bags pinned to tree branches emerge in state parks, secluded hiking trails, and the depths of the forests. Ordinary citizens out for a nature walk stumble upon these messages tacked to trees or hung by thin threads. Moreover, the geography of the notes constantly expands. A distribution network emerges, spilling out of Pennsylvania into neighboring states, and from there stretching across vastly different regions of the United States. This speed and breadth of expansion brings the most critical question to the minds of investigators. Is there only one person obsessively doing all of this, or is an organized, interconnected group or dark cult carrying out this operation? If a single person remains behind this, printing hundreds, perhaps thousands of notes, folding them individually in the exact same manner, secretly traveling to markets across different states, and climbing trees in wooded areas to hang them, requires an unbelievable amount of time, budget, and dedication. But the far more terrifying and unsolvable dimension is the condition of the food packages in the supermarkets. A vast majority of the discovered notes emerge from factory-sealed, airtight packaging, bearing absolutely no signs of external tampering. Consumers come face to face with these papers the very first time they cut open their food boxes or sealed containers. How does someone place these papers inside a factory-glued cereal box or a wrapper with its outer cellophane intact without breaking the seal? Do they melt the adhesive and reseal it? Or do these notes infiltrate the packages not in the store, but directly on the factory production line? It is this very possibility that elevates the incident from a harmless oddity straight to a federal crime. Under United States law, tampering with food products reaching consumers during the production or distribution phase is a massive offense threatening public health. Incidents like the Chicago Tylenol poisonings of the 1980s, which terrified the entire nation, left a profound phobia in American society regarding the tampering of packaged goods. The Schuylkill Notes do not contain poison or cause physical harm, but they prove that the invisible barrier of security has been breached. Therefore, the issue quickly surpasses the jurisdiction of local police, and the U.S. Food and Drug Administration (FDA) and the Federal Bureau of Investigation (FBI) step directly in. Authorities use highly cautious and restrained language in their statements to avoid driving the public into unnecessary panic, but behind the scenes, a massive investigative web spins into motion. Hundreds of hours of supermarket security camera footage undergo second-by-second scrutiny. Product supply chains sit under the microscope from start to finish. Every step is monitored, from the packaging processes in food factories to the transfer of products to warehouses and the stocking of shelves. Corporations launch their own internal investigations. Despite months of work, hundreds of citizen complaints, and countless pieces of evidence examined, not a single concrete suspect emerges. No one is caught red-handed slipping these notes into packages. No suspicious activity involving the tampering of goods appears on the reviewed security cameras. It is as if an invisible hand infiltrates markets across the country, bypasses production lines, and vanishes back into the darkness unseen. The references in the text to hate groups, global wars, satanic elites, and government conspiracies indicate that the author perceives the world as an intensely hostile place, constantly on the brink of annihilation. Psychologists and behavioral scientists note that deep anxiety and a loss of reality perception often lie behind such acts. Perhaps a mind unsatisfied with the echo chambers of the digital world prefers to forcibly intrude upon people's physical realities into the most intimate spaces of their homes. An individual feeling a total loss of control, believing the world is run by dark forces, might try to satisfy a need for power and control by hurling the rules of this chaotic universe they constructed onto the kitchen tables of others. Those tiny papers read as the silent screams of immense desperation and a desire to be seen. On the other hand, massive communities on internet forums, particularly platforms like Reddit, are obsessed with this subject. Hundreds of people who find the Schuylkill Notes share photos documenting exactly where and inside which product they discovered them. Amateur researchers track the distribution vectors of the notes on digital maps, compare minor variations in the text, and attempt to solve anagrams based on the spelling errors. Another theory suggests this is an isolated cult organization, a group of people believing the end of the world is near, taking it upon themselves as a religious duty to spread this message, supposedly targets markets and production facilities in their region. The factory worker theory is also a frequently debated topic on the forums. Many believe these notes are planted not in the supermarkets but directly by one or more individuals working in food packaging facilities. Tossing those tiny papers inside boxes as they pass down the conveyor belt proves easier than breaking a seal in a store. But this scenario fails to fully explain the notes hung on trees and forests and their simultaneous appearance in the products of different companies and different brands. The truth is, neither the collective intelligence of millions of minds on the internet nor the seemingly limitless technological resources of federal authorities managed to uncover the reality behind the Schuylkill Notes. The case stands before us as a disturbing reminder that no matter how surveilled our modern world remains, cracks in the system always exist. In an era where cameras monitor every corner, every purchase is recorded, and supply chains operate under artificial intelligence, someone still manages to stay completely invisible and challenge the entire system with a material as primitive as paper. Even today, you can never be entirely sure that one of those small, tightly folded pieces of paper filled with toxic thoughts does not await you inside a completely sealed, pristine box or a packet of cookies you take from a supermarket shelf. The Schuylkill Notes whisper to us just how exposed we actually are to the outside world, even in our homes, our kitchens, the very moments we feel most secure. These dark messages managing to infiltrate our safest spaces prove just how chilling and unsolvable an analog mystery is in an era where everything operates digitally. Who knows? Perhaps the next cryptic message is waiting patiently inside that unopened package in your kitchen cabinet, ready for that ordinary moment you open the box. At Timeless Archives, we close this dark and unanswered page for now. Stay alert in this world where the truth mostly hides far beneath the surface.